Good. We'll talk about that in just a second. You ready? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the archive of the Leadership Bootcamp Community Track Ignite the Fire session. This is the first session, and we've got a good 50, 60 people here, and you're joining us online. Maybe you're on your couch, maybe you're at work, or maybe in your jammas. We'll try not to visualize that, or anything else that we could visualize, whatever you're doing at home. But we welcome you, and we welcome all of you. So next hour and 45 minutes, we're going to unpack this program. This first session is to clarify expectations, roles and responsibilities, and get you in a place to learn. Get you in the right frame of mind and the right frame of heart to learn. In a moment, I'll have each one of you introduce yourselves, what organization you're with. It's not a long dissertation because we don't have a lot of time. Just who you are, what organization you're with. And to give everybody in a room an opportunity to understand the counterparts. This program is the first of its kind, not only in, come on in, come on, everyone's staring at you, it'll be awesome. Have a seat right there next to Sonia, very good. First of its kind in Canada, and as far as we know, first of its kind in the world, where a municipality, a governmental entity, would offer 15 weeks of world-class leadership development for free. For free. But this ain't free. This is not free, let's be clear. Number one, I'm not here to waste my time. I don't have to be here. They asked me to put this program together, and I was happy to do it because I believe in Fort McMurray. I believe in the region of Wood Buffalo, which I'll explain in a moment. Tonight, I'm away from my 10-year-old daughter, Nia. I'm away from my 8-year-old daughter, Nadia. Come on in, guys. And I'm away from my 6-year-old son, Kian. So I'm sacrificing significant time for my family to be with you. You are sacrificing significant time with your family. This cannot be a waste of time for you or for me. So the purposes and the outcomes that have been established for this program are clear. The purpose is to develop the leadership capacity of a region. The outcome is a better region to live in. Ultimately, it's not Mayor Melissa's job to build you a town to live in. Ultimately, it's not the Premier's job to build you a town to live in. Ultimately, it's not the Prime Minister's job to build you a town to live in. It's your job and my job to build a thriving community that we'd all want to live in. The purpose of this program is to increase the leadership capacity of all sectors and all silos and all corners of the community. In today's day and age, it's not formal leaders that get things done. It's informal leaders. So we started the program to increase the leadership capacity. Where did it all begin? In January of last year, I was asked to come and be a part of a program called Leading the North. Anybody heard of that? Leading the North. So I was asked, along with Peter Mansbridge, the founder of Greenpeace and others, will you come and be a part of Leading the North? Fact is, Ian, will you be the opening speaker for Leading the North? You open it, Mansbridge will close it, and it'll be a great deal. And how many of you know they must have been drunk when they asked me? How many of you know that? They were like, get the chubby brown man. I'm the chubby brown man. They were like, get the chubby brown man, he'll come. So I did. And I said that night what I'll say to you now. I think Fort McMurray and the region of Wood Buffalo have a tremendous opportunity to define history. I think you can be the Athens of the 21st century. Athens, they say, was the greatest city-state in the history of mankind. It defined history. So much of what we know in Western society came from Athens. So much of arts and culture, geometry, mathematics, democracy itself, a free society came from Athens. Well, how in the world, Ian, could you compare Athens to us? Well, let's stop and think. I don't pull that out of my bum, right? It's a logical, thought-through evaluation of the course of history and what you could do. You have more natural resources than could last 3 lifetimes. How many of you know that's the truth? It's the truth. You have brought, for whatever reason, talent, ability, insight, wisdom from all over the world. How many of you know that's true? Just go by the TD Bank and try to park somewhere and get yelled at in like 23 different languages by somebody, right? How many of you know what I'm talking about? I did that today, in fact. I think 23 different languages yelled at me. So you have all this talent that has come here. More resources than 3 lifetimes, all kinds of talent, and then for whatever reason the stars have aligned and there's some enlightened leadership that knows all of this prosperity won't last forever. I've been to hundreds of boom towns around the world. Hundreds. I've seen them. I was just in one the other day. $6 billion came out of this town in a 5-year period in this little town. It's called Virginia City. All of the silver of Virginia City built San Francisco. $6 billion. How many say that's a lot of money? You know what's there today? Nothing. Just some touristy things, and you can go and drink a beer at the Bucket of Blood where somebody got shot, and you can sit in Mark Twain's seat. It was the first thing he ever penned when he was a junior reporter. But that $6 billion community is nothing today. So, like I said in January of last year, in front of all the community leaders and all the bigwigs and all the suits, I'll say to you tonight, history will judge what you become. History will judge. History will look back at this time where all the stars have aligned, more resources than any other community, largest industrial project in the history of mankind, and history will judge what you do. Will you be just another series of boom towns that pissed away the opportunity to do something great? Or will regular people unite around a common goal of building a community we'd all want to live in? When I got done saying all that, they took me aside. And Glenn, he's the CAO of this community, he said, I want you to come back. And I said, what do you want me to come back for? He said, I just want you to come back. I love that vision, because that's the same vision we have. We think we could have a community that could define history. So I came back. And I came back again. And at supper, he says to me, so what do you think? What's our challenge? You've been all over the world. You've done projects all over the world. What do you think our challenge is? And I said, your challenge is leadership. And he kind of got it. He was like, are you talking about me? And I said, no, not the formal leaders. You just don't have enough leaders. Here's how a community normally works, guys. A community normally works, it's about a 7 to 10 year maturation process for informal leaders to grow and be useful. Well, I don't understand. You get out of high school, you get out of college, or you get out of university. You go to a town. You get involved in your place of faith. You get involved in minor hockey. You get involved in the thing you have a passion for. And in your job and in the community, you start to grow. You serve on a board. You volunteer. You do this and that. And through the life experiences, you start to become a better leader. How many of you have watched that happen in other people or in yourself, right? You have some stumbles, you have some falls, you have some successes, you have some failures, and you get a little bruised and beat up, and you have some victories, and the next thing you know, you're kind of pretty good at getting other people to do things. Normal, 7 to 10 years before you can be an effective leader. What's going to happen in the next 7 to 10 years here? Anybody know? Who can tell me? What's going to happen in the next 7 to 10 years here? It's going to more than double. What else is going to happen in the next 7 to 10 years here? You think the diversity of the community is going to go backwards, or it's just going to get more diverse? And don't you think with all of those people coming here, any issues or challenges are just going to be exasperated? Yes or no? They're just going to be more and more? Absolutely. So now all of a sudden, the things that make a community worth living in need some leaders. Do we have 7 to 10 years for those leaders to grow up? No. So Glenn looked at me, and Brian, his deputy CAO, looked at me, and they said, what do you think we need to do? And I said, you got to grow some leaders. And you got to grow them right now. You do not have time. You do not have 7 to 10 years for the natural maturation of a leader. You got to develop leaders proactively. And then he said, well, what are you going to do about that? I was like, what the hell are you talking about me do about it? I'm not going to do anything about that. He goes, yes, you are. What are you going to do about that? And I said, let's start a program. So last year, we took 500 people and put them through this program. And then we cascaded them back out into the community. This year, we decided we'd take 350, go them through the program, dump them out into the community. Both internal RMWB employees and then external. So you're a part of that group. So although this is free, young guy, there is an expectation. At the end of this 15 weeks, you better get off your big fat couch. You thought I was going to say something else. But it's a family show tonight because we've got the young people next door over there. It's a family show. So we expect you to get off your big fat couch and go lead. Go lead. Go serve on some volunteer board. Go start some initiative in your neighborhood. Go, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Everyone's staring at you. It's okay. We love you. Welcome. Welcome. What's your name? Gina. Say hi to Gina. Everybody say hi, Gina. Hi, Gina. There you go. Chess Club, Gina? Are you with the Chess Club? Yes. Yeah, J-I-N-A. Because my wife is G-I-N-A. Oh, I read every one of your guys' stuff that you turned in. I read every one. And we'll talk about some of your applications in a minute, okay? We're going to have a little chit-chat about that. So, back to the point. The point is this. You must understand that backdrop to understand what's going to happen over the next 15 weeks. You have to understand what we're trying to accomplish. We have got to raise up leaders. We don't have time for the natural maturation process. Not if we're going to seize the opportunity that the world has presented to us. How many of you say this is making sense to you? This is not your typical come 5 times every 3 week pep talk. If that's what you were looking for at the break, leave. I'm not here to waste my time. You're not here to waste your time. No one's here to waste the taxpayer resources because someone's paying for this, and they're paying for you. They're paying what normally people would pay thousands of dollars to participate in. How many of you watched the orientation video? Okay, the majority of you. Would you agree with me, after you got done with that video, you said to yourself, this ain't a normal program? How many of you agree with that? Because it's not. It's comprehensive. You'd pay thousands for it. So we're making an investment in you with the hopes that you will turn around and go and build a community we'd all want to live in. Because that's the only way we're going to make it and do something special here. Okay, so what are we going to do tonight? As I said a moment ago, we're going to unpack the program so we're all clear. And then we're going to set you up for the learning. Get your head and your heart in the right place for learning. We've all gone to workshops. We've all gone to seminars. We've all read books. We've all listened to tapes. And usually within 7 to 10 days, any of the educators that are here, they'll tell you within 7 to 10 days that information is gone. So we built this whole thing so it won't be gone. 21 days to establish a habit. So the whole thing's built on 21 days. So tonight, we'll lay down those principles, we'll lay down the concepts, and then we'll get ready to learn. Now what I want you to do is introduce yourself, what organization you're with, and maybe how long you've been in Fort McMurray. Okay? We'll start right here.
My name is Michael Penny, and I'm with North Star Ford, and I've been in Fort McMurray for 5 years.
5 years.
Carrie Penny, Bishop Catholic School Board, been here 6 years.
I'm Joanne Helena. I'm with Cannon College. I've been here 7 months.
7 months. Where are you from?
I'm from Kelowna.
Oh, awesome. Beautiful. Sir.
Brian Martin, Northern Lights Health Foundation. I've been here a week.
Come on, a week. Woo! And where are you from?
Toronto.
What part?
Oh,
What part?
North.
Oh, okay. So our offices are in the Oshawa. Oshawa. How many of you know Oshawa? Come on, Schwa. Woo! The Schwa, baby. All right. Go ahead.
I work at Nixon. I've been here
9
9 months.
months.
I'm Anush Joseph. I'm here for the last 2 months, and I'm from Oshawa.
Come on, Oshawa. The Schwa. That's awesome. King Street. Go ahead.
I'm Jasmine. I'm from Nexon, and I've been here for 2 months.
Okay, the Nexon crew can't sit next to each other next time. No, I'm being dead serious. You cannot sit next to anybody you're sitting next to right now. Every time you got to sit next to other people. Because one of the points is we're all going to journey together. Shared vision, shared experience, that's what builds community. Shared vision, shared experience, that's what's built community. And here's what I know about all of you. Something attracted you, and it wasn't my chubby brown butt. Something attracted you to this. So there's a like-mindedness in the room. Different backgrounds, different talents, different experiences, different ethnicities, different religions, but something got you here, and there's a commonality in the room. One of the keys to this is we got to get you all connected. We got to get you all to know each other, because from that will come creativity, innovation, and the like. How many say that makes sense? Okay, whoever's next, go.
Kasam Malik with Sunco Energy, and came here in 2009.
How long?
2009.
2009?
Yep.
Oh, wow, you've been here forever.
Well, I was involved that time, so I came full time in 2011.
There you go. Sir.
My name is John Simcoe. I'm the founder of Lion Properties and Lion Heart Giving. So I have a couple businesses in town already, and I have a background in city planning as well.
Where are you from?
I'm from Winnipeg, and I've been here for 6 years.
Very good. Ma'am.
Catherine Watson. I am from Dallas. I've been here 6 months, and I'm looking to get involved in something with someone.
Dallas, Texas?
Yeah.
Come on, Texas? Did you grow up in Texas?
No, Nova Scotia.
Oh, that's a lot different than Texas. Wow. How many of you know you want to already have a beer with this lady and hear that whole life story, right? That's pretty good. Go ahead, young man.
I'm Joe Kanzig. I'm not really part of any large group like that. I just work at Sobeys.
That's a large group. Yeah, and how long have you been in Fort McMurray?
8 years.
8 years.
Awesome. How old are you?
19.
Anybody younger than 19 in the room? And how old are you?
18.
Your brothers, right?
Yeah.
Now, check this. Talk about young people ready to lead. Talk about intimidation, walking in with all these people. Let's give these two young people a round of applause, right? Very cool. Very cool. Okay, brother, go ahead.
Colin Kanzig. Been here for 8 years, and I'm with MacDonald Island.
Awesome.
Yeah, moved from Slave Lake.
Cool. And which one of you was the one that said to the other, come on, dude, let's do this? No?
Neither one of us.
How many of you know they got put in a trunk and told to go to Keanu College? But we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Jessica Kanzig. I work at Suncor Energy, and I've been here for 7 months.
So sister made you all come. No. Go ahead.
I'm Stacy Kedzier. I work at the Wood Buffalo Food Bank Association, and I've been here for a month.
For a month.
2 months, actually.
And where are you from?
Edmonton.
Come on. And you know, the food bank, we had great participation from the food bank last time, so we're great to see more of you back. Very good.
I'm Chris Piercy. I work at Suncor, and I've been here for 6 months.
Awesome.
My name is Callie Kanzig, and I work at Mac Island, and I've been here for 8 years.
Very good.
Megan Morrison, Suncor, and I've been here for 2 years.
2 years.
Megan Norman, Suncor, and I've been here, I was born here actually.
I've been here born. Come on, born! Woo! Awesome. Sir.
Hi, Brendan Toner, Vice Principal at Father Mercury High School. I've been here for 14 years.
Come on, Vice Principal in the house. That's big, big, big.
I'm Allison Manti. I'm also from Suncor, and I've been here for 4 years.
Very good.
I'm Allie Warnes, Suicide Prevention Coordinator at Some Other Solutions, and I've been here 6 months now.
How many of you know important and vital work? Important and vital work. Thank you. Go ahead, Trevor.
Trevor Shepard. I'm the Director of Communications for the United Way, and I've been here for 11 months. From Labrador, but came through Nova Scotia.
Come on, Labrador. Yeah.
I'm Susan Walker. I'm the archivist at Heritage Park, and I've been here for over 5 years.
The archivist. You will archive it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I'm the one that gets to judge later.
Ah, very good. That's right. You're going to tell us all. History will judge. She will judge.
So I'm filing it as we speak.
That's right. You're judging right now. Go ahead.
I'm Danielle Berthy, also with Suncor Energy, and I've been here 6 years.
Very good.
Keith Duranson with the RCMP, and I've been here for 4 years.
Awesome. And thank you for your service. Appreciate that.
I'm Tamara Price. I teach at Father Mercury High School, and I've been here just short of 34 years.
34 years? Now, you're only 33 years old. How can that be? Wow, that's amazing. Go ahead.
My name is Jennifer Dutont, and I'm with myself. I'm self-employed as a birth doula, and I was also born in Fort McMurray.
Cool. That's awesome. Sir.
I'm with Worley Parson. I'm here since the last 5 years.
5 years. Thank you, sir.
I'm Amar. I'm with Syncrude. Been here.
Whoa, whoa. Hold on. Hold on. Did you see all these Suncor people and you almost jumped ship? We saw defection happen right here. That's amazing. Yeah? Come to the dark side. No, I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. And how long have you been here?
Year.
A year. And where did you come from?
Markham.
Oh, okay. Markham, Ontario. Very nice. Very good.
Rose Renard at Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo. I've been here for 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Jake Stucklick, ATV Financial, and coming up on my first year here.
Okay. And where did you come from?
Edmonton.
Edmonton. Sonia.
Sonia Suta, I've been here 2.5 years, and I work with the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo.
Very good.
Katerina Mokituma
London, England?
I'm originally from Slovakia.
Okay, yeah.
Spent 13 years in London, England. At the moment, I'm a stay-at-home mom. My background is speech and language therapy with children, autistic children, and children with special needs.
And so my son, Kian, is autistic, and he does not speak. But we're going through the Hannon training right now, the Hannon Institute, if you're familiar with that.
We did ABA.
Oh, yeah, ABA therapy. Yep.
With a boy that I looked after, he's 10 as well.
Yep.
I was with them for 3 years.
Very good.
The boy that I looked after, his mom was so frustrated in England that she couldn't get her hands on any resources for her autistic son, that she set up a company that I ended up working for, selling children, selling toys, not children.
How many of you caught that and you were like, well.
For parents as well.
Very cool.
Because it's quite difficult to get resources as a parent, as you know probably.
I do know. Very cool. Thank you for being here. Gina.
Gina from Parkinson Chess Club.
Come on, chess club. How many of you don't want to get a logical debate with Gina? Because she's going to checkmate you, right? Go ahead.
I'm Claire Rogers with the ACFN Business Group, and I've been here for 3 months.
And where did you come from?
Nova Scotia.
What part?
Halifax.
Halifax. Very nice.
Corinne Anderson, also with the ACFN Business Group, and I've been here 29 years.
29 years. Wow. You've seen some changes, haven't you? A few. We'll start back here, and then we'll work our way this way.
Work from Suncor. I've been here for 3 years. Came from Venezuela.
Venezuela. A lot of changes happening right now in Venezuela.
The best one happened yesterday.
Oh! We'll talk about that over a beer later, right? That's very good. Alumni.
My name is Mohammed. I've been here for about 2 years. I'm working at Shell right now. And I'm also a volunteer with the mosque here. I also went through the program last time being and decided to come for as many classes as I can this time as well, just to retain it what I learned.
Very good. Fine young man, guys. Fine young man right here. Got some big vision, big ideas, some unique, a unique financial perspective, and he's going to do some cool things in this town. And I'm glad that he's here tonight. Ma'am?
I'm Luann Murphy. I'm from the Hub Family Resource Center, and I've been here for 2 years.
Awesome.
I'm Sharon Cooper, and I'm in between organizations at the moment, which means I'm an employee. And I've been here for a year. I came via Toronto by way of Ireland, and I'm here because my friend from the Fort McMurray Newcomers Club told me about this.
Very good. And so all of us in the room need to make sure, but when we're done tonight, we go and say hi to that young lady, give each other some business cards, right? So we help her get into the community and turn in between to no longer in between, right? Right? We all help each other. Thank you for coming. Go, young lady.
Hi, I'm Lynn Hadgel. I'm been here for 7 months. I'm an expat wife, and I'm from Scotland.
You know what? I am from Scotland. Don't look at me like that. What the hell was that all about, guys? You don't believe the chubby brown man could be from Scotland? Ian Andrew Hill, born on St. Andrew's Day. Ian means John, right? Andrew, middle name, because I was born on St. Andrew's Day. Absolute truth. I am Scotch-Irish. I am just the brown sheep of the Scotch-Irish family.
My sister married a Indian from Scotland.
There you go. Very good.
I believe it.
That's right. Go ahead.
I'm Amanda. I've been up here officially for 3 years. Born and raised in Alberta, and I work for Suncor. I did it too.
If you're the management from Syncrude watching this video right now, are you like totally taking names right now? That is unbelievable. Go ahead.
My name is Will Susi. I'm the operations manager for the machining division of ACFN Business Group, the largest Aboriginal contractor in the city.
Awesome. Very cool.
I'm Julia Bra. I run the Fort McKay Wellness Center out in Fort McKay. I've been here for 4 years, and I'm from Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Come on, Thunder Bay. I love Thunder Bay. It is an awesome community. We built, as some of you know, my wife and I have a foundation that gives away playgrounds, and we built 2 playgrounds in Thunder Bay, at McKellar Elementary School and at East I've now forgotten the name. It's East, not Valley, and not View. Yeah. We honored Anthony Benecca and Corporal Kluke. So all of the playgrounds that we build honor fallen soldiers. And Anthony Benecca and Corporal Kluke in Thunder Bay. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Amit Kesari. I work at Clear Water Energy, and I'm here since last 1 year.
1 year.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
I'm Brett McGee. I've been here about 5 years from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I work for Keanu College. I do construction project management and planning.
Cool. Very cool.
Hello, my name is Jo Jameson. I work for Community Futures of Buffalo. I've been here 2 years, and I moved from Ireland.
Awesome.
My name is Kyla Biot, and I work for Community Futures with Buffalo as well, and I have been here 4 short weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow. And where did you come from?
Team Okanagan, Kamloops.
Come on, Team Okanagan. That's awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Saima, and I'm doing my home-based catering business, and we are here for 6 years.
6 years.
My name is Syed. I don't work for Syncrew. Obviously, I work for Suncor. I've been the part of Toastmasters since 5 years now.
Wow.
And I was so excited for this program, I brought my whole family. You are hearing some sound from other my kids are there.
Say hi, guys. Say hi, kids. No, come here. Come here. They're like, come here. Hurry, 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 hurry. Run, 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 run. Tell everybody what your name is.
My name is O'Hare.
And here's the deal, guys. Every one of us are responsible to build him a great community to live in. Because he can't. Kids can't build themselves a park. Kids can't develop exceptional educational opportunities for the 21st century. And kids can't build a thriving community for themselves to live in. That's our job. How many of you would agree with that? Okay? Thank you, buddy. He's like, Dad, don't make the chubby brown man do that again. Go ahead.
I'm Azzy, HB Financial. I'm working for HB Financial, and I've been here for 5 years.
5 years. Very good.
My name is Diana Noble. I'm president of my own company, Noble Services Inc., and I've been here for 5 years.
And what does Noble Services Inc. do?
We deliver legal documents, process services.
Cool. Don't see me after this program. Especially if you have a document in your hand. How many of you know from now on, whenever you see her, you're going to be like, is this official business or what's going on? They're all in your car? Yeah, you got your binder. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Did everybody get introduced? Am I missing anybody? Well, thank you all for being here. Now, what I would do if I were you, if I had my leadership hat on, I would have made a note of all of the people in the room that I might need to get something done. I would make note of where they worked, what they did, how long they've been here. If I had been here a short period of time, I would go align myself with people who've been here a short period of time. On the other hand, if I had been here a long period of time, I'd identify people who are here a short period of time to go and build capacity, expanding my sphere of influence, getting to know people, building trusting relationships with people. That's what I'd be doing. Not so I can figure out what I can get from you, but understanding that in today's day and age, the only way to get anything done is to build a trusting relationship. And seeing what I could do to lighten the burden of my fellow man. Giving of myself and asking nothing in return. You want to expand your sphere of influence? Whoever the human being is that's standing in front of you at any given moment, do whatever you can to make their life a little bit better. And you'll never need a business card. Any of you walk up to me and ask me for I don't have a business card. I don't need a business card. I'll just do everything I can to make your life a little bit better. Ask nothing in return, and you'll probably remember that. How many of you concur with that? This thing ain't brain surgery, y'all, because if it was, I couldn't do it. Now, every one of you in this room is more educated than me. I barely graduated from high school. Every one of you in this room probably smarter than me. I took the short bus to school. How many of you have ever seen the short bus? People always ask me, did you go to university or college? And I say, yes, I did. I walk through there on my way to work every day. I am not a very educated man, but life has been good to me. And my wife and I have more than we could have ever hoped to have. But we believe that to whom much is given, much is required. Life has given me much, much is required of me. And we believe that our community, our country, our continent, and our world is a direct reflection of us. A direct reflection of us. So when I say that thing about that little boy right there, about it's my job to build him a town to live in, a nation to live in, a world to live in, it is my job. But be clear, I'm not going to be able to change the whole big bad world. And we are not going to be able to change the whole big bad world. We're not going to solve global warming here. We're not going to take care of the Middle East crisis. We're not going to be able to handle economic challenges. We're not going to do that. But each one of us can handle our little corner of the world. So whatever your little corner is, all we need you to do is handle your little corner. How many would say that's a reasonable expectation? Okay. So now let's launch into this thing. Take out your handouts. After tonight, if you do not bring your handouts, or do not bring your binder, or do not bring your placard, you will be fined. It is a toonie. We gather all the toonies, and every night we donate to charity. Whatever the toonie amount is, I match. And we donate that to a charity. Tonight's charity, we'll do the food bank tonight. Right? We'll do the food bank. And I'm in for 100 to the food bank. Okay, I'm in for 100 to the food bank. There you go. Put that down. If you're in for anything when we get done tonight, just go see her, put cash in her hand. If you don't have your binder, or if you don't have your placard, or if you don't have your handouts, then you got to pony up a toonie. If you don't have a toonie, you just better make sure, I'll loan you. I loaned you. And you just make sure you bring it tomorrow, next time. How many say that's reasonable? If you're a leader, you can print out a form. If you're a leader, you can remember to bring a binder. Now, I don't know if you know how to fold this, though, because I have trouble folding it. So let's not classify that as leadership. But the young people took care of business. So pull out your handouts. Here's what science says. Science says if I read it, write it, hear it, talk about it, I'm more likely to retain it. So that's the purpose of handouts, and that's the purpose of you having something to write with. We've got to do everything we can to help you be a little bit better tomorrow than you were yesterday. So the program has been built to do so. And we'll unpack that in a moment. But before we can talk about the program, you have to understand what I thought of you. How many of you actually answered the 3 questions so far? Raise your hand. If you haven't answered the 3 questions yet, sometime in the next week you're going to get an email from me saying, excuse me, you didn't answer the 3 questions. So you're busy, and that's cool. And some of you just signed up in the last day or 2. That's cool too. No worries. Just get to those 3 questions. When you saw those 3 questions, why do you think I'm asking those 3 questions? Right? What do you expect? What does winning look like? Or what are your outcomes? What's your challenge in leading others, and what's your challenge in leading yourself? Why am I asking those 3 questions? What's the point of asking the 3 questions? Focus. What else?
To measure our success through the program.
For you to measure your success. Why else? Sir? I got to understand what you want. And I will read those routinely throughout the 15 weeks to make sure the thing you were hoping to get, we cover. Or to say to you, wrong expectation, you're not going to get that fulfilled here, go do something else. So by gauging what you were hoping to get before we begin, I can understand if we can deliver or not. For most of you, we can deliver in significant ways for most of you. So that's why I asked the 3 questions. So if you haven't answered them yet, please do and get them to me. The other piece is you need to understand what I thought of you. Well, what do you mean? Expectations and assumptions. What do I assume about you? If I had had the opportunity, I would have talked to every one of you beforehand. So I got to learn you, but I couldn't. There's no possible way. We're going to have over 350 people go through this. You're not the only track. There's tracks happening all over the region. So I got to learn more about you. Well, I didn't have time. So I asked the 3 questions. That's somewhat of an efficient, effective way. But let me tell you what I thought of you. My assumption of you as I watched you walk down the hallway, and I'd like you to write it down. My number 1 assumption of you. My number 1 assumption that for 15 weeks of my life, I was going to give 15 weeks of my life to professionals. So write that down, professionals. Somebody tell me what professional means to you. Somebody tell me what professional means to you. What's a professional?
Well put together.
What's that? Well put together. I like that. That's good. Well put together.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Do what you say you're going to do. So they do what they say they're going to do. They're self-contained, self-motivated, self-directed. What else are professionals? Yes?
Serious about your cause.
They're serious about their call or their cause. Their chosen endeavor, right? They just don't trade time for money. How many of you know people in your life that trade time for money? Their life is just a series of Wednesdays. Oh, Wednesday, 2 more days to go. Oh, Wednesday, 2 more days to go. They're just going through the routine of life. How many of you know somebody like that? How many of you are? No, don't tell me. I don't. Okay, so I'm assuming that's not you. I'm assuming that you care about your own personal and professional development. You are passionate about your chosen endeavor. You're a professional. Now, does it mean you're educated? How many of you know some people with a whole bunch of fancy letters after their name, but they are completely unprofessional? So I'm not saying necessarily that you're educated, although in today's society we do define sometimes people who are educated as professionals, but I think that's a misnomer. Because I know some people that have no education whatsoever that are phenomenal professionals. My assumption is I'm going to spend 15 weeks of my life with professionals. Secondly, I'm assuming that I'm going to spend 15 weeks of my life with someone that wants to do something great. Now let me be clear. I'm assuming that you're here because you want to do something great with your life. I'm not assuming that you're here because you just want to go through the motions. Now let me clarify great. I don't just mean amassing stuff. I'm assuming that I'm dealing with people that want to do something great for themselves, their families, their neighbors, and their community, and for a generation that is not even here yet. That's the depth and breadth that I'm assuming about you. I'm assuming you're the kind of people that understand that the decisions that you make, the words that you say, the actions that you take have an impact today and an impact into the future. And in some instances could impact people that aren't even here yet. I'm assuming you want to do something great, and that's why you're in the room. Number 3. I'm assuming that you're actually going to take something that we talk about and try it. So you just write try it. In some white space free of charge, write this, 80%. Let's write 80%. Science tells us that 80% of our behavior is unconscious. It's also known as starts with an H. Anybody know? Habit. So 80% of your behavior is unconscious. You do it without even knowing it. So the challenge for you is, if you want to be better tomorrow than you were yesterday, something's going to have to change. The old expression, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always. So if you're not completely satisfied with life, community, neighborhood, organization, something's going to have to change. The dilemma, 80% of my behavior is unconscious. It's stuck. I'm stuck. I just do things. I don't even know why I do things. I just do them. So underneath 80%, write this. Are the leadership qualities, or you could write skills, or you could write attributes, whatever word you want, that I use, the ones that times require? Are the leadership approaches, skills, competencies, whatever word you want, the ones the times require? Are the leadership approaches I use the ones the times require? What do you think I mean by that? The ones the times require. What does that even mean, Ian? The ones the times require. What do you think that means? Adaptability. But think about what I'm saying. The ones the times require. What's the implication?
So the same leadership skills that, say, people in ancient Rome would have had would not be the same ones we'd be using today.
Exactly. That the same leadership approaches maybe used 50 years ago would not be applicable today. Here's what Peter F. Drucker said, the great business guru. He said, every couple hundred years in Western history, society rearranges itself. And the society that the grandparents knew is completely different than the society the grandchildren know. He called it a time of transformation. Raise your hand if you think we're in a time of transformation. Fundamental, right? Fundamentally different. So we can assume, if we have a half a brain in our head, that the way we've led in the past may not work today. So I have to ask my question. If I'm standing up and saying, I'd like to be a better leader, I'd like to be a leader, whatever, I wonder if the way I lead is what the times require. And notice that there's no value judgment there. It's not, am I good, am I bad? It's just, is what I'm doing going to work today? Is the way I talk to people, the way I work with people, the way I talk to a group, the way I engage another organization. the way I recruit volunteers, the way I run my business, the way I market my business. Is any of what I'm doing applicable to today? How many agree with me that self-actualization, that introspection is necessary if you want to be an effective leader? So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, hey, is the way I'm doing things what the times require? Would you agree with me that 10 years from now, we probably have to ask that question again? And then 3 years from that, and then 5 years from that. So I'm assuming something about you, but I'm also assuming something about the times, and I'm assuming something about behavioral science. 80% of your behavior is unconscious. And then the world went like this. Shwang! That's the international word for what the heck just happened. Right? All of a sudden I can pull something off my hip, talk to my little girl out in the hallway, and she's 2,000 kilometers away. It's called FaceTime. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And she's like, Daddy, science fair. I won the science fair. Oh, you won the science fair. That's so cool. And how many of you know 10 years from now, she's going to be, Daddy, I'm going to be teleporting to you in about 5 minutes. Oh, that's so cool. You can teleport. Wow. Everything that ever happened in Star Trek will someday be a reality. How many of you would agree? What's your point, Ian? My point is, if times are a-changing, but 80% of my behavior is unconscious, I can almost guarantee I won't be exhibiting the skills necessary for today, let alone the skills necessary for tomorrow. How many would say that just makes sense? That little equation I laid out. But does that mean I'm bad? No. It just means I better start asking myself, what do the times require? Then do an evaluation of what I'm doing, and then change accordingly. And if I could master that process, do you think I probably would be able to thrive in about any environment, yes or no? Yes. So that's what we're going to do the next 3 weeks. What? We're going to start to evaluate, are our leadership approaches what the times require? And then start talking about, well, if they're not, how could I change? And then the 12 weeks after that, we're going to introduce new leadership competencies and then try to reinforce them. That's the whole game here. Now, I don't know. Maybe you are exhibiting the leadership qualities the times require. I can't be an arbiter of that. Only you can be, and the people around you can be. And we'll engage the people around you to help. Oh, I don't like that, Ian. Just hang tough with me. I'm assuming you're a professional that wants to do something great. The next time, over the next 15 weeks, when I ask you to do some crazy crap, just go back to that. Oh, yeah, I'm a professional that wants to do something great. That's why he's asking me to do this crazy crap. You can't tell him what the crazy crap is. Okay, so that's what I assumed about you. Now look at the bubble down at the bottom. What does that say? Somebody read the bubble? Read that bubble down at the bottom. Anybody? You don't need to be sick to get better. What do you think that means? You don't need to be sick to get better.
There's always room for improvement.
That's right. I don't need to be sick. So it's not a value judgment. No one in this room is bad. Many of you in this room, probably all of you in this room, could teach me something I don't know. All of you in this room could give me insight and wisdom through your life experience, through your professional and vocational experience, that some of you have forgotten more about what you do than I'll ever know. Today, I'm here. But tomorrow, you'll be teaching me. I'm not some sage on a stage. All of you could teach me. This should be a dynamic educational experience where we all learn from each other. How many would say that's the kind of educational experience that's most robust? So, not a sage on the stage, just a guide on the side, man. Just a guide on the side. And have we done some cool things? Well, if you Googled, you know we did some cool things. And if you did any kind of due diligence whatsoever, you know we've done things that have never been done before. That is true. But not the sharpest pencil in the box, not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, not the sharpest tool in the tool shed. Short bus. Every day, short bus. And that's why I know my son's going to be okay. Little Kean's going to be just fine. He can't talk today. He's 6 years old. Barely potty trained, stares off in a distance. Yeah, but you know what? That was me. So I know he's going to be just fine. Now, Mom don't know about all that. She kind of freaks out. But I know he's going to be fine because he's me. Your point, Ian? My point is, every one of you in this room has the capacity to do something great. But you must start with, are my approaches, my skills, my competencies what the times require? Turn the page, quick. All right, what can you expect from us? All right, you can expect that for these lofty outcomes of increasing the leadership capacity of a community or a region, every sector, every silo, every corner, that we're going to have better leaders organically growing up, stepping out of the normal maturation process of 7 to 10 years, accelerating that so that we can dump leaders out into the community to get things done, then we had to have a program that could match those lofty outcomes. So you can expect from us a scientifically based program based on 2 simple educational concepts. 1, 21 days to establish a habit. 21 days to establish a habit. These programs normally suck, excuse my language. Why? Because there's no process for changing. So you go pay a whole bunch of money and then you go back to your life and nothing changes. Why? Because there's not a process for changing. We all just said that 80% of our behavior is unconscious and it takes 21 days to establish a habit. So don't go and do another educational thing and pay money unless they can explain to you what the change process is. How are you going to support me in change? Oh, you're just going to come and it'll be a great conference and we'll be at the Banff Center and it'll cost like $1,500 and it won't even include the food or the room, and so it'll cost like $3,000, but it's going to be awesome. Well, how are we going to change? I don't know. You figure that out. And that's why you go to those things and nothing ever changes. How many of you have that t-shirt? And it has holes in it. So we had to create a process that gave you a fighting chance to change. So here's the concept. At the beginning of a 21-day period, and can I borrow this right here, brother? So you see it right here. The green, that gives you the science behind all this. Okay? So at the beginning of the 21-day period, we're going to meet face to face. At the beginning of the 21-day period, we'll meet face to face. That's tonight. And then over a 3-week period, we'll reinforce the concepts. So on Monday morning, you're going to get an email from me. That's why it's important that you create your username and password so that we have your email. Why? Because I'm going to send you an email on Monday morning. And it's going to have about a 6 to 8 minute video. And it's going to have some text. And it might even have an exercise to reinforce the learning. Some weeks, and he'll tell you this, you're going to get an email from me every day. Oh, dude, you're going to be overwhelming. Well, they don't call it boot camp for nothing. Now, when we send something to you every day, it'll be short. It'll be clean and crisp, 2 and 3 minute, 1 minute, to reinforce the learning, reinforce the learning, reinforce the learning. Because 21 days to establish a habit. Then halfway through that 21-day period, we're going to have a coaching session. Coaching session. Yeah, live video streaming just like this. You'll go into the learning portal. How many of you have been in the learning portal? You're going to go into the learning portal, and I'll be there live. And what are you going to be doing? Answering your questions. I'll be available to coach you for an hour. Any question? Any question. Well, how do we answer your question? Well, Twitter in the question, Facebook in the question, text in the question. There'll be a little chat box. You can post a question. You can email the question. You can call in the question. Really? You're just going to be there for us to answer any question we have. Absolutely. Want to talk about your business? We'll talk about business. You want to talk about a difficult employee? We'll talk about that. Want to fundraise because you got a charity? We'll talk about that. Whatever you want to talk about for an hour. How many say that's pretty cool? Then the next Monday morning, another email. Then on the 22nd day, what are we going to do? Have a live session. And then we repeat that 5 times. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. I can't come. Everything that I just described is available on the learning portal. If you went into his learning portal, at the end, there's about 60 hours of material. Videos, emails, handouts, exercises, well beyond just the classroom time. Why? Because there's more information than you could possibly assimilate in a 15-week period. So you're able to go back and go back and go back. Well, how long will that be available to us? Forever. Well, who can we share that with? Anybody you want. How many say this is off the charts? As my little girl would say, this is off the hook. This is crazy. Why? Because we gotta build leaders. So if you were really about building leaders, you would reduce every barrier to participation. If you're really about building leaders, there'd be no financial barrier, there'd be no time barrier, there'd be no barrier to access. After this program, there's no organization in the community that can say, we don't have training. There's no individual that can say, I'm new to town, I need training. It's there. So you have to learn the educational process, the modalities, some of the educators will tell you, the methodology. Now here's the other piece of so it's 21 days to establish a habit, supported by that framework. But then the other concept is a blended learning concept. So some of you in the room, you learn by seeing. Some of you learn by hearing. Some of you learn by talking. Some of you learn by thinking. Some of you learn by doing an exercise. So we must take these concepts and push them through a blended learning model. So that's why you might hear the same concept presented in 6 different ways. But that's to ensure that all learning styles are accommodated. So don't send me a note like, you talked about that already. Well, that connected with you because you did it through hearing. But someone else is doing it through reading. Does that make sense to everyone? 21 days to establish a habit, blended learning approach. Now, take yourself into a leadership role. From now on, when you introduce change, are you going to be able to change things by just sending out a memo? Why? Because everyone learns differently. Why else is a memo probably not going to change things? Because it takes 21 days to establish a habit, and 80% of most people's behavior is unconscious. So you wonder why you get frustrated as a leader and you're like, dude, I told you what to do. Oh yeah, that memo, the email you sent. Here's the new policy. Please read this email. And I expect by tomorrow morning everything changes. How many say it's unrealistic? How many of you have had that done to you? Okay, now, so when we're talking about these principles, not only are you talking about, oh, the program, how it works, but you're also learning how to change something. And I hope that you'll start to take that in. What else can you expect from us? You can expect competencies. This is a competency-based program. Well, what competencies? Where did they come from? Well, originally they came from a think tank that I'm a part of. How many of you know that is crazy? That I am in a think tank? Those people were drunk. So I'm a part of this think tank thing, and they came up with these competencies. But then we, my wife and I, and our little charity called Let Them Be Kids, our little nonprofit, we took those competencies and we started rolling them out around the world. In Canada, 160 communities utilize the competencies to do big projects. When you go home tonight, I'm going to give you a copy of a movie. It's like Oprah. It's like Oprah. Everybody's getting a movie. Woo! So there's a movie that's been made. There's a documentary that's been made about Let Them Be Kids. And it just came out the other day. It is the #1 selling DVD documentary in Canada today. 10,000 copies already sold. Do you know how that is, ma'am? Because somebody bought 10,000 copies. Anyways, it was us. But anyways, because we're giving it away free. 10,000 copies are being given away. So why are you giving it to us? Because if you want to see how to do something in a community, then this is a great example. And so you might as well watch the movie. It's a really cool movie, actually. It tells the story of 5 communities across Canada, from Vancouver, East Vancouver, to Tecumseh Annex School, to Twillingate, Newfoundland, and communities in between. It's really cool. You get one when you leave. So what's your point, Ian? My point is the competencies were utilized in 160 communities. This program that you're going through has been slightly modified for you, but 23,000 people have gone through a similar program. 23,000 people as far away as Australia. So I know the competencies work. They're practical. What are they? Agent of change. In other words, you're going to learn how to change something. You're going to learn how to change yourself. You're going to learn how to change your environment. You're going to learn how to change your community. You're going to learn the basic principles of how to change. Systems thinking. You're going to learn to be a systems thinker. And whether the system is how to have an innovative thought, or how to manage your time, how to motivate another human being, how to delegate, how to fundraise. We're going to talk about systems thinking. Why? Because there's not enough time, energy, or effort at your disposal to get done everything you get done, that you need to get done. So you better be a great systems thinker. Systems thinker. Then, catalyst for responsibility. Can you get another human being to take more responsibility than they did the day before and like it? Can you get another human being to give more today than they were giving the day before and ask for more? Do you have that ability? Catalyst for responsibility. And then finally, are you any good at planning? Are you a good planner? Are you an effective planner? And can we sustain this thing? Continuous improvement. So those competencies we will review in those 21-day blocks. Agent of change, 21 days. Systems thinker, 21 days. So on and so on and so on. Competency-based. So when we get into that format, every day, every time we come here before we start, you're going to take a self-survey. You'll see the competency. You'll do the indicators. how do I stand up in this competency? And then that'll help you focus your learning for that 3-week period. Finally, every one of you will be asked to make a commitment. What? I will be asking you to formally make a commitment of what you're going to work on, what you're going to get better at. Now, that commitment will only be between me and you. You'll be able to submit it to me online, or you'll be able to submit it to me in a more traditional format on paper. But you will make a commitment. Oh, I didn't sign up for all that. Well, then you're not serious. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always. So if you want tomorrow to be better than yesterday, something's going to have to. So make a commitment. Because how many of you know it's all just blah, blah, blah until we make some commitments? So not now, but sometime in the next few weeks, you're going to tell me what you're going to get better at. And then we're going to track that. So that by the end of the 15 weeks, you can stand up in front of the community and say, you spent a lot of money on me, and I got better at least one thing. Wouldn't you say that's reasonable? Don't we need to be a good arbiter of the community's resources that they're investing in you? Don't you think it's reasonable for them to expect that you got better at something, yes or no? Well, that's on you, Ian. If you're good at your little song and dance, I'll get better. But if you're not very good at your little song and dance, then that's on you. Oh no, I'll be good at my song and dance. I'm good at what I do. I could talk a dog off a meat truck. I had a guy in Texas say to me one time, he said, son, you could talk a dog off a meat truck. And then he took like 3 steps and lifted his hat up. He's like, I mean a hungry dog. So I know I can talk a hungry dog off a meat truck. You don't do all these kind of projects without being able to talk a hungry dog off a meat truck. I know I can do that. The learning is on you, not on me. Already some of you don't like my style. So what? Already some of you don't like my demeanor. I don't care. Some of you don't like what I'm wearing. How come you got tennis shoes on? That's bullcrap. Well, my feet hurt, and I wasn't wearing those damn Italian shoes anyways and walk through snow and ruin them. I mean, what the hell am I going to do that for? I'll put on my old kicks and run around in those, right? So I can guarantee you're not going to like something about me, but let's be enlightened enough to rise above that. And let's have a conversation about how to build a great place to live for those little kids that are over there. How many would say that's more mature than normal? So I need you to be a professional who wants to do something great. Okay? So, what is that leadership? So we're going to talk about the competencies. But give me some words, Ian, that would describe the leader that you're talking about. Well, before we can do that, I've got to make the case that times have changed. So someone tell me, how have times changed? How are things different today than they have been in the past? How are things different? Somebody tell me. Technology. How many of you ever heard this song? Now, some of you, this is not from your generation. It's from my generation. How many of you ever heard this song? I'm sailing away, catching a window for the tragedy. Have you ever heard that song? That's not Christopher Cross. That's Styx. Come sail away. How many of you ever heard that song? Yeah. Some of you are like, what in the hell are you talking about?
Why do you sing so slow?
Well, because that's how it starts off. Catch an open door for the tragedy. That's not what they say. But anyways, did you guys see in the Globe and Mail that Styx, REO Speedwagon, and Journey were all the same guys? Did you know that? No. That's not true. Come on. Now follow me here. Now listen. So that song came on the radio in 1984. I was driving down the road in my Camaro. I told you it was a Firebird, but it was a Camaro.
What model?
And my mullet was blowing in the wind. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Now, if you want to know if a man had a mullet when he was younger, look around the room and look at the men that are kind of bald. You know they had a mullet. How do you know that? Because God looks down and says, if you can't take care of it, I'm taking it away. Right? So you know, mullet. So anyways, I'm driving down the road, mullet blowing in the wind. It's about 11 o'clock at night, like on a Saturday night. And I'm going to wherever the party is. How many of you know what I'm talking about? I'm going to wherever the party is, and that song comes on the radio. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. And I look over at you and I'm like, dude, I love that song. And if any of you remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High, remember that one? You look over at me and you're like, yeah. And I'm like, love it. When can I get that song? Now, 11 o'clock, 1984, 11 o'clock at night. When can I get that song? Mixtape, yeah, create the mixtape. She knows what I'm talking about, right? When can I buy that song? In the morning. I couldn't buy that song on a Sunday morning in 1984 in most communities. Yes or no? No. I'd have to wait, well, unless I did school on Monday morning, I'd have to wait till Monday afternoon after school. And how many songs would I have to buy to get the one song? 12. There was this thing, it was called an album. It was about this big. If he was really a smart aleck, he'd look at me and go, you mean 8-track tape, don't you, for you, don't you? Anyways, I'd have to buy 12 to get one. What are you trying to show me? I'm just going to walk with me. How did things change? How are things different? All right, come with me to my little place. We have a place down in Lake Tahoe. So we're down in Tahoe in the States, and we've got little Nadia. She's 8. Little Nadia comes bounding in on a Sunday afternoon into my little man cave office. Here comes little Nadia. Daddy. She's a little sprite little girl. Daddy. Yes, Nadia. Can I talk to you? Of course, Nadia. Just do me a favor, move 3 feet to the right. You're blocking the game, but just move over right there. Yes, Nadia. How can I help you? Nadia says to me, Daddy, have you ever heard of Miley Cyrus? I've heard of Miley Cyrus. Don't be like her. And she says, Daddy, have you ever heard of her song? Ho down, low down, mow down. If you have little kids, you know what I'm talking about, right? She got this song, ho down, low down, whatever. Yes, Nadia, I have heard of that song. What's the point? Daddy, I love that song. I think it's my most favorite song. Why is that important? I wanted you to know that I just bought that song. You just bought a song? Yes. How did you buy the song? On iTunes. Nadia, you have an iTunes account? No, I used your iTunes account. Nadia, how did you use my iTunes account? The password. How do you know the password? The password is Nadia. I said, how would you know that? And she went just like this. Well, what else would it be? Now stop. Stop. 1984, I had to wait 3 days to get what I wanted. Today, when do I get what I want? Right now, you think we're going to be able to lead Nadia the exact same way we've led people in the past? Write this down in some white space. User-driven. We're in a user-driven society, everybody. Almost every institution that you interface with gives you a say or gives you the impression that you have a say. Some of you in the room remember a day where we all gathered around a thing called a TV, and that certain day and that certain time and that certain place, if we weren't there, did we miss the TV show, yes or no? When can I watch the show today? When I want, where I want, on the platform I want. If I want a car today, I could go online and pick out my colors, pick out my amenities. I could pick out my car and have it delivered in a week, yes or no? Yes. Not the cars I like. Listen now. We're in a user-driven society. Can I ask you a question? Whatever the hell happened to just bring? Right? Just bring. Anyways, all right. Listen now. Very important. Follow me. A user-driven society. What do you think I mean by that, user-driven? I gave you an example of user-driven, but tell me what you think I mean. It's all about the human being and the interface. It's user-driven. In the past, institutions like Friday at 5 o'clock anywhere in North America, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years, let's say 20 years ago, the bank told you what time to show up. And if you didn't show up at 5 o'clock, by 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, could you get your money, yes or no? No. You could not get your money. Today, I can email you money. I can get money in 495,000 locations anywhere. Yes or no? Fundamental shift. Well, Ian, why is that important to me? Because when you're trying to lead somebody, if you're using an autocratic leadership approach where I'm telling, you're wondering why you're getting attitudinal pushback. What's attitudinal pushback? That looks something like this. Oh, no, you didn't. How many of you have ever experienced that? Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't just try to tell me what to do because I get to vote What do you mean you get to vote? I get to type in numbers and determine how a television show turns out. I get to post on YouTube and Facebook. It's a user-driven society. So you're not going to tell me what to do anymore. How many of you would also say that authority doesn't mean as much to us anymore? Titles don't mean as much anymore, yes or no? Wasn't there a day when we said this, whatever you say, boss, I'll just do whatever you say, boss? How many of those days are long gone? Why does that impact us who look to be leaders? You said it earlier. Why does that impact us? That fundamental change, why does that impact us? You said it earlier. Do you remember? You said, I can't lead like I used to. In Rome, it was this: do what I tell you to do or I will chop off your head and feed it to that lion over there. I'll do what you tell me to do. How many of you know today they'd be like, I don't care about no lion. I killed one last night online in World of Warcraft. I could kill that lion. Have any of you attitudinally experienced what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. Okay. That one singular fundamental shift tells us something. What else has changed? Give me some other changes that have occurred. A sense of you owe me. Why aren't you giving to me? Okay, what else has changed? There's 5 generations in the workplace, guys, and in the community there's 6. Never before in the history of mankind. Never before. And the life expectancy at 86, 87, 88 years of age. People are not going to retire at 62, 65, 68. They're going to continue to be active members of the community. In your workplace right now, there's 5 generations. Am I right or wrong? Do you think you can lead the 55-year-old in the exact same way you're leading the 22-year-old? Yes or no? My daughter is 22 years of age. She is working right now in Fort McMurray because she works for a company called Schlumberger. Anybody ever heard of Schlumberger? She's a chemical engineer with Schlumberger. She's on a truck. If I would have ever thought my girl would be a rig pig, I have no... What did I do? But how many know she's making bank? Because it's the winter projects. $500 a day differential. Woo! She took me out to dinner tonight, I just have you know. She's 22 years of age, but she's leading a bunch of men older than me on her truck. So she's got a bunch of guys on her truck that are older than me. You think she's going to be able to lead them through her autobiography? No. And do you think they could lead her through their autobiography? No. That's why the question is, are you leading in the ways the times would require? How else have things changed? How else have things changed? Got to think now. You got to think about how things have changed so that you can evaluate the context that you are operating in. Because the content of leadership has not changed. Hold on one second. Treat people like they want to be treated. Don't ask people to do what you wouldn't do. Treat people with dignity and respect. Work as hard as you possibly can. Be a role model to others. How many of you agree with me that's not going to change for 2,000 years? That's those fundamentals of leadership. It's just the context that we operate in. Go.
I was going to say EQ is more important than IQ now.
So emotional IQ. How many of you remember these days? You came in and the boss did this. And then the next day they're like, you know, I want to apologize for freaking out yesterday. And everybody was like, no problems, Bob. It's all cool. How many of you know those days are gone? Now we do this. Oh, yeah, no problems, Bob. It's just fine, buddy. And I will work 8 hours against you every day. Right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? Oh, yeah. So emotional IQ. Do I have the ability to relate? Do I have the ability to connect and build a trusting relationship with a singular human being? Do I have an ability to set aside my own autobiography and understand somebody else's ways, thoughts, worldview, and the like, and find some point of connection? You really want to be an enlightened leader? Find the person in your community most diametrically opposed to your worldview and go make a connection with them. If you can go find the person that's the most diametrically opposed to your worldview and find some commonality with them, how many of you agree with me you'll be a consensus builder? And in today's divisive age, if you have that ability, you'll have thousands of people following you every day. Because that's about that emotional IQ and capacity. How else has things changed? Quickly, yes?
Opportunities have changed, like there's more opportunities now.
More opportunities, certainly. Certainly. What else?
More competitive with work.
More competitive. The competition for the discretionary spending dollar for employees and the like is more intense than it's ever been. Yes?
Access to information is a lot easier.
More sophisticated than ever before. If you're a supervisor or manager in this room, you know it's difficult to lead people because before they came to work, they read Yahoo Canada and it said the 7 different ways a person should be led. And then they come to work and they're like, you're only doing 2 of them. You suck. Right? I mean, they read the information and then they come to work and compare you to that information. How many of you can honestly say you've done that before? Just like you read about how a spouse should be and then you look at your spouse, you're like, Did you read the front of Yahoo Canada? That's when you get the email from my wife, Gina, who says, you should read this. Whenever I get an email that says you should read this, what it means is, here's a scientific backup to what I've bashed you with for the last 3 years. How many of you men know what I'm talking about? Anyways, how else has life changed? Yeah. In the past, I would lead people who looked like me, smelled like me, tasted what I tasted, went where I went, hung out with the music that I hung out with. How many of you know those days are long gone? How about this one? Would you say that the world is less trusting than ever before in your lifetime, yes or no? Less trusting. How does that impact us as leaders? They do this survey every 2 years across North America of people's impression of leaders. Not elected officials, not business, just leaders. Lowest ever in the history of North America. We think less of leaders. Any leader. Think about it. We've seen elected officials screw us over. We've seen religious people screw us over, religious leaders, business leaders, nonprofit leaders. Am I right or wrong? We have seen over and over and over again leaders let us down, yes or no. Yes. So we have a fundamental distrust of leaders today. Even some of the most recognized brands of the world are distrusted. Even nonprofits today were like, are you sure that money's where it's going, where it's supposed to be going? Right or wrong? Okay, now how does all of this combine to impact your role as leader? How would you say it all combines to impact your role as leader or potential leader? Why is this conversation that we're having right now even important? Yes?
Because we have to recognize the changes in order to be able to lead.
So circle context. Circle context. The first thing that you must do, see you, my friend, good to see you. The first thing you must do is evaluate the context that you are attempting to lead in. Some of you, the things that I've talked about tonight, you didn't even think of. How many of you raise your hand and say you hadn't thought about it? But how many of you say I'm probably right on? So, it's not because I'm brilliant, it's just because you stop the bus, you get off and go, what's going on today? What are the trends showing me? What am I seeing happening around me? And then you size it up and say, and as the approach I'm taking in alignment with what I see going on around me. And then when you start to get really good at that, you know what you'll start to do? I wonder what's gonna happen. Because if you can start to recognize the context that you're operating in, you'll then start to recognize what's gonna happen. Some of you that have Googled me know I used to be in the venture capital business. That's a business where you got to predict what's gonna happen. Well, you can't predict what's gonna happen if you don't know what the heck's happening. So the first thing I want you to do over the next week is start to look around at some of these anecdotal, telltale signs that speak back to you and say things have changed. And then take it from a leader's perspective and say, how does that impact people that I might have to do things around me? In some white space free of charge at the top right, marshaling human capital. So leadership today is about marshaling human capital. First of all, any of you accountants in the room, what's capital? What's capital? Some of you bean countering accountant people. What's capital? What's capital? Our assets, our valuables, right? It's something that we can take and do something with. Well, there are natural capital. What's natural capital? Timber, oil sands, natural resources. What's social capital? People. Now let's take that one step further. What's human capital? Give me some forms of human capital. Knowledge, skill. What else? Involvement. How about this? Innovation, creativity. How about this? Love. How about sweat? Are these all forms of human capital? Here's the question. Can you marshal human capital? Can I get all these people from a bunch of different backgrounds, a bunch of different talents, experience, and interests, and somehow can I get their creativity, their love, their intensity, their passion, their compassion? Can I marshal it all towards that common goal over there? That's leadership today. That's leadership today. And here's the funny thing. I'm not going to be able to scream it. I'm not going to be able to intimidate it. I'm not going to be able to bark it. I'm not going to be able to trick it for all of the changes that I told you and we all agreed to a moment ago. I can't do any of those things. But somehow I got to get all these different people who I may not have any authority over, somehow I got to marshal them towards that common goal. Would you agree with me that that's leadership today? Would you also agree with me that's fundamentally different than the leadership of the past? Yeah, fundamentally different. So the content probably hasn't changed, but the context has. So give us that ideal leader, Ian. Let me give you what the ideal leader looks like. The ideal leader has the ability to marshal human capital, build partnerships, build consensus. They have the ability to inspire and move others towards a shared goal. Someone who can tap into the collective intelligence. What does that mean, Ian? Is that like the Borg? We're all connected by some guy with a Borg? No, that's not the Borg. It just means that you were born where, ma'am, if you don't mind me asking? New Brunswick. And you? Ottawa. And you? Burlington. And you? Okay. So would you agree with me that they all have different life experiences? Somehow I've got to get the best perspective of their life experience to help me solve that problem right there. That's called tapping into the collective intelligence. I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. Fact is, it pays to be the dumbest guy in the room because I know everybody in the room is smarter than me, so I got to figure out a way to get the best ideas. So my job isn't to be bright and come up with great ideas. My job is just to create an environment where great ideas come out. How many of you would want to work in that kind of an environment? Do you think that would be the kind of environment that would get the best from people today? That's called tapping in the collective intelligence, and you will learn how to do that. What else do we want from leaders today? We want leaders that can provide direction when people don't know what to do. Rather than leaders that require, we want leaders who inspire. We want leaders that are more about influence that comes from somebody conveying vision and passion and commitment. How did Gandhi get 1 million people to show up at the shore? Did he do it by intimidation? Did he do it because he had a lot of money in the bank? Did he have a lot of money in the bank? How did he get 1 million people to take on the strongest empire in the history of mankind up until that point? He had vision, he had commitment, and he had passion that he walked out over years. How did Terry Fox unite a nation? Guys, think about it. He didn't have the basic fundamentals to do the task. He did not have the basic fundamentals to do the task. He didn't have the basic fundamentals to get to the corner store. And yet he united a nation. How did Mother Teresa? How did Mother Teresa build such a reputation that no leader of the free world would deny her call? How many of you know every leader of the free world, if the secretary was like, Mr. Prime Minister, Mother Teresa on the line, blow her off, tell her I'm not here. How many of you know that didn't happen? So is it about your bankroll? Is it about the color of your skin? Is it about the connections you have in the community? Well, I would say it's more about influence. It's more about influence today. How do you know that? Look at some of the things that are going around in the world that have been influenced by just regular people. Regular people influencing change. Regular people influencing policy. Regular people. Now, I'm not Pollyannish or naive enough to think that institutions aren't deeply rooted. I'm just saying, for the first time, at least in my lifetime, or that I can see in history, regular folk can get something done. Would you agree with that? We see examples of it all the time. What else do we want from our leaders? That we want leaders that understand that the hierarchies have flattened. Leaders that seek feedback and value feedback, that can tap into all resources to get something done. Leaders that can facilitate a collective vision, a collective experience, and a collective victory. We want leaders that understand trends. And finally, we want leaders that are honest and direct and put the needs of the followers ahead of themselves. How many of you, by show of hands, are fed up with leaders who put themselves before the follower? Yeah, we're fed up with that. We've seen it over and over and over again. We long for a leader that actually sincerely would put others' needs ahead of their own. That's the ideal. Now my job and our job is to, over the next 15 weeks, take that ideal and instill them in very practical ways. Well, give me an example of practical. Do you know how to delegate? I don't mean do you talk delegate. Do you know how to marshal human capital through effective delegation? Do you know how to motivate another human being and get the best from that human being? Do you understand the dynamics of change? Could you step into a workplace or to a nonprofit organization or to a neighborhood and affect change? Those are the practical things that we're going to talk about. But for the first 3 weeks, we got to get you ready to learn. Because most of you in the room are not ready to learn. Well, how can you say that? Well, 80% of your behavior is unconscious. You probably don't have a process to change. The world went schwang all around you, and you're wondering what the heck went on. You don't even know what the times require. So we got to get you ready to change. So the first 3 weeks is going to be some introspection. It will be exercise heavy, I'm warning you. There will be some exercises that you have to do to get you to look within yourself. First, how did I become the person that I am? Second, what are my leadership approaches that I'm doing today? So there'll be some exercises each week for the coming 3 weeks. Turn the page. Now look it. Here's the drill of how these nights always work. We only have an hour and 45 minutes. That's not a lot of time. So if you need to go to the washroom and take a smoke break, get some water, just go do it. But don't all go do it at once because I'll get really pissed. Excuse my language. So if you need to get some water, get some water. If you need to get some coffee, there's washrooms right there. If you need to go out, run outside and a quick smoke break, that's fine, but only one drag because we care about your health. Then back in here. But I'll just assume that you're all professionals and adults and you can manage yourselves, okay? Change. Why do we hate the word change? Okay, it could imply that you're not doing something right. Why else do we hate the word change? There are some actions that are associated with that. Somebody else. Hold on. What? It takes us out of our comfort zone. Great mics think alike. What's that?
We have to change our behavior.
It's hard. How about this? I heard an old guy say to me one time, the reason we don't like change is because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Right? We don't want change because that looks like a whole heck of a lot of work. And here's one. Well, things aren't that bad. Could be. In some white space free of charge, write this. We will only change that which we will no longer tolerate. Anybody know the name Rabbi Yaakov Prince? Rabbi Yaakov Prince. Anybody know that name? Rabbi Yaakov Prince. Anyone know who he is? So Rabbi Yaakov Prince was the rabbi in Berlin during the rise of the Nazi Party. How many know that was a tough gig? When they were handing gigs out, they were like, okay, you're going to London, and you're going to go to New York, and you get to go to Toronto. Oh, Yaakov, you're going to Berlin. And he was like, oh, that sucks. And so he rolled into Berlin during the rise of the Nazi Party. He's most famous for his humanitarian work. And the world became more aware of him because he was the guy that spoke just before Martin Luther King Jr. spoke on the March on Washington when King gave his great I Have a Dream speech. Anybody ever heard of that? Well, the guy who spoke just before him, the guy that they would say in baseball was the setup hitter. The setup man, you know, the guy who goes and plays before the big band. That was a guy named Rabbi Yaakov Prince. And he stood up and he said this. He said, the world is in greater danger from those who tolerate evil than from those who commit it. You will only change that which you will no longer tolerate. He then went on to say this. He said, as I was in Berlin in the rise of the Nazi Party, I now look back and often think to myself, what if every person, every Catholic, what if every Catholic had donned the tattoo on their wrist or on their arm, taken and worn the star, got down on their knees and scrubbed the streets like the Jews were made to do? Then he said, what if every Christian or even non-believer had taken on the tattoo, the star, and got down on their knees and scrubbed the streets? What if every person who just was living in Germany took the star, or took the star and put the tattoo of the numbers, and then got down on their knees and scrubbed the street? He said, what if every human being had done that? He then said, how long do you think the Nazis would have been in power? How long do you think? How many degrees? Not very long, right?
Prince actually stood up and said, look, everybody's going to wear the star, etc. And the Nazis had no power there and they gave up.
That's right. So this Rabbi Yaakov Prince was making this point. He was making the point that people tolerate things. Tolerate. How many of you agree with me the killing of kids is completely intolerable? Does anybody know how many kids were killed in Canada? Mr. RCMP, how many kids were killed in Canada last year through violence? Hundreds. Hundreds. How many would say hundreds of kids is unacceptable? And yet, do we see any marches in Ottawa down the streets? Stop the killing of kids! Stop the killing of kids! As we speak right now, there's someone making crystal methamphetamine within a 100-kilometer radius of this community. Am I right or wrong? Constable, am I right or wrong? Within a 100-kilometer radius. And yet we don't see marches. Stop the selling of drugs! Stop! How many of you ever heard of Strawberry Quick? What's Strawberry Quick? What is Strawberry Quick? Who knows? No, Strawberry Quick is a... No, you know what Strawberry Quick is? Strawberry Quick is the crystal meth that has a strawberry flavor that's geared towards grade 5 and 6 kids. Because the drug dealer knows that they won't take it unless it has that strawberry flavor. Anybody know what cheese is? Cheese is the heroin in the sticky-like substance. Because the drug dealer knows the grade 3 and grade 4 student won't stick a needle in their arm. At what point do we as regular people start to say that certain things are intolerable and take a stance that we'll do something about it? So that's the question that you have to ask yourself, because those things, and he will tell you, are happening in this community every day and every night. Am I right or wrong? How many of you agree with me within a 300-kilometer radius, there's some pedophile, and he's trying to find a unique and creative way to snatch little Nadia off a playground? Am I right or wrong? The world is in more danger from those who tolerate evil than from those who commit it. So we will only change that which we will no longer tolerate. Now, I gave you really, really big emotional examples. Let's bring it back down to you. What have you tolerated? What have you just said, well, that's just the way I am. Come on, take me or leave me. I'm an as-is purchase. So I want you to write down something. I want you to write down 3 names of people whose lives would be better if you changed one thing. I want you to write down 3 names. Yes? Yes. Yeah, you don't get to change them. Whose life would be better if I got to change them? I want you to write down the names of 3 people whose lives would be better if something in you changed. Maybe it's employees. Maybe it's coworkers. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe your parent. Or maybe it's your spouse. Or maybe it's your neighbor. Or maybe it's your child. Something that if you got better at it, their life would improve. But I want you to write their 3 names down. Come on now. Write down 3 names. Don't make me call you out. If nothing else, just scribble something. Because if I see you not writing, I will call you out. Why am I asking you to do this? Why am I asking you to write down 3 names? Why do you think?
So keep in mind the significance of the change we're about to make.
That's right. To keep in mind the significance, the impact that you could have if you just changed one thing. We will only change that which we will no longer tolerate. So you know what I got to get better at? I got to get better at my kids. What do you mean? Every day cannot be the Grey Cup at my house. Every day cannot be the Stanley Cup Finals at my house. How many of you would say it would be crazy to live with this every day? How many of you say that'd be crazy? Because this doesn't shut off. This is one speed, man. And how many of you know my little 10-year-old, 8-year-old, and 6-year-old don't need 7th game of the Stanley Cup every day? We got to gear it down a notch sometimes at my house. How many of you would agree? Why am I telling you the one thing I need to change? Because now I got 70 people to hold me accountable. And at the end of this 15 weeks, you guys are going to be able to ask Nia and Nadia and my wife if I got better. Why? Because my kids deserve a great dad. My wife deserves a great husband. How about you? So I'll lead, I'll role model it. Are you going to be willing to be transparent enough and write down 3 names of whose lives would be better? So this isn't a game, it isn't a joke, it isn't a pep talk. Let's change the world, man. But where does that change begin? Where does that change begin? Yeah. So if you can't even change your own situation, how are you going to lead a whole bunch of other people? You're not. So those 3 names, we will only change that which we will no longer tolerate. Now look at the box there. It says, progress and change are indelibly intertwined. There can be no progress without change. Who wants to argue with me about that statement? Look, it's a very clear statement. There can be no progress without change. Who wants to debate that? Or do you take it as it is? Yes, sir. Yep. There'll be no change without progress. Einstein said something very interesting. He said everything within him was only enough to get him where he was at today. That if he wanted to be any better or go any further, something was going to have to change within him. So he knew, smartest guy that ever lived, or one of the smartest, he knew that those two things were fundamentally connected. Let me make it clear. Write down 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Without going to your smartphone, tell me what that adds up to. 10. Now, if I wanted that to be 11, what would have to happen to that equation? Something would have to change. But how many of you have ever gone to a meeting where we took the 2 and we put it first? And then somebody was like, oh, I got an idea. Let's put the 3 next. Yeah, that's good. Good, 3. I got one. Yeah, what do you got, Ian? Okay. You're gonna do that first, and then the 3. 4. Let's put the 4 next. Good job. Oh yeah, I got it now. Didn't put the last number. Yeah. How many of you ever sat in that meeting? And we all high five. We were like, oh, that was a great meeting, man. Good job. Way to go, way to go. And we still got the same answer, same outcome. We all sit in those meetings all the time because we won't change anything. So this first 3 weeks is about learning how to change you. Because you can't possibly initiate change if you haven't mastered change. And where does mastery start? Self-mastery. So, do you understand that progress and change are indelibly intertwined? Most of us are afraid of change because of all the things that we described earlier. I would suggest to you to thoughtfully considering shifting that mindset for a moment and start to say this, wait a minute, progress and change are indelibly intertwined. If I can start to master this thing called change, I could actually start kicking real butt every day. Ah! That sounds like my little guy right now. Write this down. I will attack the day with an energy and enthusiasm. I will attack the day with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. I will attack the day with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. That was said by a football coach in the States. 2 coaches, actually, and they coached the Super Bowl this last year. And if you know that story, 2 brothers. And their father would say to them every night at the table, at the supper table, he would say to those 2 brothers who ended up going and coaching in the Super Bowl, you talk about the percentages. What are the percentages of that? That 2 brothers would coach against each other at the height of any profession, or that would compete against each other at the height of any profession. That would be like the CEO of Apple and the CEO of Google being brothers. Crazy. So Dad said this to him every night at supper. I want you to attack the day with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. And so I thought that was really cool. So we changed it a little bit, my family. Here's what we say now at supper. We will attack the doing of good deeds with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. Attack the doing of good deeds, the betterment of my fellow man, lightening my fellow man's burden, with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. What's your point? Well, my point is the law of inertia. Inertia? What? Where? Ian, you're like in left field, dude. Yeah, that's when you're ADD. You guys just get ready. We're going to go like this, and then we'll go like that. And it's just no shiny objects are allowed in the room. You ever see that movie, Throw Mama from the Train? Anybody ever see that movie? Look at the cows. That's me. So, inertia. Who remembers the physical law of inertia? Who remembers that physical law? Trevor! Give it to me.
An object that is in motion will want to stay in motion.
On a trajectory, we'll stay on that trajectory. And an object in place? Stay in place. Okay, follow me, guys. Inertia. Your life. Inertia. That sounds like this. I don't know, it's just what we do around here. I don't know, it's just the way it is. I don't know, it's just my life. Inertia. But what the law of motion says is that this thing in place will stay in place unless what? Until what? A force that is greater than the one being applied. How many of you would agree with me the world is reluctant to change? What kind of a force will be necessary to change a world that's reluctant to change? A force greater than the one being applied at the moment. That's why if we want to do the doing of good deeds, we probably will have to attack it with an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. If you want something to change, it will take an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to man. Give me some scientific backup for that. The space shuttle. The space shuttle has to overcome inertia. How much energy does the space shuttle exert in the first 3 minutes? Anybody know? By percentage? It's about 87%. 87% of its energy is exerted at the beginning of the change. So, when you're going to initiate change from now on, what do you know about initiating change? It's going to take how much energy at the beginning? 87%. So don't be surprised when you're like, this is hard. Nobody wants to change. No one's on board. No one came to my meeting. How come no one ever comes? Well, we'll talk about some of the reasons people never come. But just remember, the first little bit, you have to overcome inertia. It's a physical law of motion. Now let's take it back to you personally. So for you to be good at this and make this effective for you for 15 weeks, it's going to take some what at the beginning? It's going to take some effort, an energy and enthusiasm rarely known to your life at this time. So you're going to have to exert a little bit more energy than you normally do to overcome the physical law of motion. So don't be sending me emails about, it's too hard. I'm giving you fair warning. It's going to take some energy to overcome the inertia of your life. How many say this makes sense? Okay. On Monday morning, not tonight, on Monday morning, you're going to get an email from me. In that email from me, where are we at? Okay, good. In that email from me, we're going to talk about change. So flip the page. This is the advantage of having 3 weeks. On Monday morning, I'm going to give you a process for changing. We call it the change continuum. It's on this page right here. See this page right here? Change continuum. On Monday morning, there'll be about an 8-minute email video where I'll walk you through this process of changing. So I'm not just going to say to you, you got to pick out one thing and change it. I'm also going to give you a process that could be utilized for changing. So the next time you see a skill you'd like to acquire, you'll know how to change. The next time that someone points out a deficiency, you'll be able to change. The next time somebody says, here's a new thing coming, you'll be able to look at that and say, wow, I need that in my toolkit. You'll know how to change. Would you say that would be a valuable tool for you? Don't pay Anthony Robbins $1,500 in 3 easy payments. Free. Giving it to you for free. Well, where did it come from? Failure. Deep and total and utter failure in my life. Moral failure, financial failure, failure. Take all your stuff kind of failure. When you're an entrepreneur, that's what happens. And your wife is like, you ain't sleeping in here. Forget about that, dude. You better change. Get out in the doghouse till this all gets changed. So I had to change. So we went and did all the research we could about change and a process thereof. And I'll share that with you on Monday morning. Turn the page. Okay, we've only got 2 or 3 more minutes left. We're almost done? Yeah, we're almost done. We started a few minutes late, but we'll be very mindful of time. We'll always be mindful of time. There'll be another assignment. So this Monday morning, change. Next Monday morning, I'm going to give you an assignment. It's called a Leadership History Survey. So you'll see that in this packet. You'll see that there's 12 questions on like 5 pages. Leadership History Survey. This is the concept. You're going to look back before you can move forward. So there are 12 questions that make you look within yourself. Questions like, where did you grow up? Were you the oldest, youngest, middle? Did you play sports? And if you did, were you always picked, never picked? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Who was your best boss? Who was your worst boss? Questions about how did you become that 80% of unconscious behavior? What were the people? What were the dynamics? What were the ups? What were the downs? What were the victories? What were the tragedies? All of that combined to make you who you are. Why? Because the question isn't whether those things are right or wrong. The question is, are they serving you well now? When you sit in a meeting and somebody starts to say something and you can't figure out why you don't like it, but you just don't like it, where's that coming from? I think it's in your best interest to look back before you can move forward. The following week, we'll do another exercise to figure out where you're at. But for now, Monday morning, change. Next Monday morning, we're going to talk about Leadership History Survey. Okay, 2 things that we got to do before we're done. Before you can take any journey, you must take an inventory. What is an inventory? What's an inventory? Anybody, what's an inventory? What's that? You take a look at what you got. One of the reasons that we don't change the world, in my opinion, is because we forget what we got. We've been knocked down by life. We've been kicked down by life. We've been beat up by life. We forget the capacity of the human potential. We come from the species that though we do not have wings, we can fly. We come from the species that made it to the moon and back. We come from the species that built the pyramids without a cell phone or GPS. We come from the species that has done incredible things, remarkable things. How many of you agree with me? Daily, we hear of the implausible, improbable, or seemingly impossible happening. Daily. Yes or no? And yet, we don't think tomorrow can be better than yesterday. So in the last 4 or 5 minutes that I have, I'm going to give you an inventory of you. Not what your mama said about you, not what your spouse said about you, not what the little voice in your head says about you all the time, what science says about you. I want you to take an inventory. Number 1, can you see? From what I can tell, most of you in the room have the capacity of sight. What does that mean? That means that you have 100 million receptors in your eyes. 100 million receptors. You can see and enjoy the magic of a leaf. You can see a snowflake or a pond, an eagle, a child, a cloud, a star, a rose, a rainbow, or the look of love. You have that capacity. Can you hear? From what I can tell, most of you in the room have the capacity to hear. And what does that mean? 24,000 fibers. They vibrate each time the wind goes through the trees or tides on a rock, an opera, a robin's plea, or how about this? The words, I love you. You can hear that. How about this? Unlike my son, you can speak. Unlike any other animal on this earth, you can speak. And what can you do with your words? You can lift a quitter. You can encourage a despondent person. You can take someone who's on the brink of tragedy and bring them back, but nothing but loving and caring words. You have that ability, you have that capacity. Or you have the capacity to tear down and beat up and cut someone with your words. You have that capacity. What else do you have? Well, for most of you, as far as I can tell, you have the ability to move. Hundreds of muscle, miles of nerve fiber that move without even a thought. You can move your hand, you don't have to think, you just move. You have the capacity. How about your heart? There is no machine, maybe some of you are engineers in the room, there's no machine that man has ever made that could meet the capacity of the human heart. It will beat 1 billion times in a lifetime. We'll abuse it. We'll beat it up. We won't take care of it. And yet, without even thinking, it does its task every day, minute after minute, hour after hour, year after year. 1 billion times. That's you. How about what else? How about your skin? There is no bank, there is no gold in the world that's protected like your skin can protect you. Millions of touch receptors and heat receptors and pain receptors. All it takes is a little bit of washing, a little bit of care, and it maintains itself. How about your brain? Everything you've ever heard, everything you've ever seen, every word you've ever spoken, anything you've ever experienced is in your brain. There is no computer in the world that can touch your brain. Ian, why is this relevant? Because when you start taking inventory of who you are, all of a sudden the challenges of a community aren't that big a deal. All of a sudden the challenges we face in our society aren't that big a deal. All of a sudden I start to say to myself, crap, I can do just about anything. Not because I'm brilliant, dumb as a rock, but I start to look at the human capacity. I do an inventory. Here's the other crazy thing. Listen to this. There's never been anybody like you. There'll never be anybody like you. Write this number down, 70 billion. 70, 000, 000, 000, 000, 70 billion. That represents the number of people that have lived on the planet. Science says that 70 billion people have lived on the planet, and then underneath it write this, 1. Science says there's never been anybody like you. Science says there's never been anybody like you, there'll never be anybody like you. Well, what's your name, young lady? Megan, right? Yeah. Megan, if there was 70 billion of this goofy watch, 70 billion of this watch, 70 billion of this watch, but there was one that was handcrafted and handmade, one that was unique and different, unlike all of the other 70 billion. So 70 billion of this watch, but one that was special, unique, handcrafted, and handmade. How much would the unique one be worth? Help her. How much would the unique one be worth? Priceless. That's you. Now listen to me. Listen very closely. I don't care what your mama said. I don't care what the doctor said. I don't care what your spouse said. I don't care what the little voice in your head says. I'm telling you what science says about you. You're a rare and unique creature with incredible talent and ability. 70 billion people have lived on this planet, and there's nobody like you. Ian, that's Pollyannish in your thinking. Okay. Okay. Well, what can one person do? It was one monk that started the Protestant Reformation. It was one general that took an empire from the borders of Macedonia throughout the world. It was a 16-year-old girl that recaptured the territory known as France. How many of you older than 16? Yeah, all of us. What can one person do? I could list name after name after name after name of countless, faceless, thousands upon millions of one people that made the world a little bit better place. But it begins with belief. There can be no innovation without belief. There can be no creativity without belief. Tomorrow will not be better than yesterday without belief. Somebody in the room has to shake off the cynicism, shake off the jadedness and the crustiness, and start believing that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. What do you believe? Do you believe that you have some talent and ability? I didn't say do you believe you can change the whole world. I'm just asking you to handle your corner. Do an inventory of who you are and what you have. Finally, last page. Go to the last page. Not tonight, not even in the first 3 weeks. I'm going to ask you at some point through the program to answer these 5 questions. I call them life's 5 most urgent questions. I call them life's 5 most urgent questions. Somebody read the first question, please. What will be your greatest contribution to your family? Why is your family better off because you're in it? Why have you made it a better family? Because you're the papa. I'm going to set these right here. Because you're the mama. Because you're the brother. Because you're the cousin. Why is the family better for you? Because of you. Somebody read the next one. What will be your greatest contribution to those you serve? And everybody in this room serves somebody. Not, well, what are they going to do for me? What are you going to do for them? Somebody else, next one. Every one of us in this room leads somebody, even if it's the person in the mirror. We lead somebody. What will be your greatest contribution to them? Next one, somebody. What will be your greatest contribution to Suncor? What will be your greatest contribution to Syncrude, Nexen, Schlumberger, BP? What will be your greatest contribution to the food bank, to the school board that you work for, or to whatever organization you're aligned with, even if it's your own company? Somebody read the last one.
What will be your greatest contribution to your community?
What will be your greatest contribution? Why are we better off because you live here? How have you made the community a better place? Well, I paid my taxes. That ain't enough. There can be no passengers on this ship called democracy. Every one of us must grab an oar and row. What do you notice about these questions? Somebody, observations about these questions. From here out. Somebody else, what do you notice about them? What's that? It's projecting what will be, setting up a lighthouse or a true north for you. Somebody else, tell me what you see. Are they deep questions? And I will expect a deep response. See, because here's my perspective. I believe that we long for leaders, both formal and informal, who put these in the forefront of their mind on a daily basis. I believe that we long for leaders that are projecting what will be through their actions, starting with their thoughts, and then their words, and then their actions. And you'll notice that they're all about what they will do for others. How many agree with me we long for leaders like they want to do for others? Be that leader. You'll have hundreds, if not thousands of people flock to you on a daily basis. They're life's 5 most urgent questions, young man. And you don't have to wait till you're 50 to start thinking about them. And just so you know, I ain't 50. So, not tonight, and not even in the first couple weeks, but before we're done, I'm going to ask you to answer these questions. No one will ever read your responses but me and you. This is what it's all about. It's about lightening the burden of your fellow man. Life's been good to me, but I've also seen some challenges and difficulties. When I first came to Fort McMurray, I took the time to go stand on a Sunday afternoon on the street corner. I've done it before. I lived on the street as a homeless man. In the States, I lived for a week on the streets as a homeless man, so I could learn more about the homeless problem in my community. In Toronto, I've done the same things. Why? Because I want to learn. So what did I do? I went down on a Sunday afternoon. I just stood there outside a bar, just leaned on the corner. Made myself unknown, if you will. Just blended in. And you know what I started to see? I just started to see. Started to see the same person come to a place, meet another person. A transaction was made. Stuff went on. Started to see a yell and a fight and an argument. Started to see some kids that didn't seem to be connected to anything. They were just wandering around. How many of you know if you started to observe in the same way, you'd see some challenges? Some of you know the challenges I'm talking about. At what point do all of us in this room just stand up and say, okay, I'm going to do all that I can to build a community we'd all want to live in? And then unite with like-minded people to do the same. People have different talents, experience, interests, backgrounds, different religions, creeds, and colors, but are uniting around a common goal of let's build something special here. History will judge you. You've got every opportunity. You got all the resources. You got all the talent, and the world is watching. See, I think you could be a beacon of hope. I mean that sincerely. I think you could create something here that would send ripples all around the world. Why? Because there's a human being from every planet in the world here. And because of technology, they'll tell the story like this. Wow, what a great place to live. Wow, what a great place to live. I love what they're doing here. Yeah, but Ian, that's not what it is today. Well, no, it's not what it is today. We need some people that have enough capacity to see what tomorrow could be and believe in themselves and a vision and then walk that vision out. Over the next 15 weeks, we'll try to take this ideal that we're talking about and bring it to practical, on-the-ground application. Somebody tell me something you're taking away from tonight, and then we're done. We're going to be done in 2 minutes. Somebody tell me something you're taking away from tonight.
The municipality actually cares.
They do. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe that. And I believe it in the depth of my heart. I'm not the kind of guy that align myself with something just to align myself. I believe in Glenn. I believe in Brian. I believe in these guys. Now, I don't know what they do every day, but I've been in situations where they didn't have to say the things they said to me. I bought into it. And I believe that this could be a special place. Somebody else, something you're taking away from tonight.
I believe a great change is coming.
Yeah, and you're going to be a catalyst for it as everyone else in this room. Yes?
Change is required in order to progress.
No doubt. No doubt. Somebody else, something you're taking away.
So
Yeah.
being a leader, you have to influence and engage the heart, body, and hand.
Yeah.
So that you can lead thoughts.
That's right.
Get better vision.
What's that?
Get better vision.
That's right. Anybody else, something you're taking away from tonight?
Gotta break habits.
Yeah, man. Einstein was right, dude. It's like us. We're doing this. We're trying to do 250 community-based projects in 1 year all across Canada. I ain't got the capacity to do it, man. I better change. I don't have what it takes to pull that off, man, in any way, shape, or form. All right. If you haven't created your username and password, please do so. This session will be in the learning portal by tomorrow morning, as will the handouts and the like. Monday morning, you're going to get an email from me talking about the change continuum, and then we begin the journey. Everybody in?
Yes.
All right, on your way out, there's a box right there. I want you to grab the movie. It's a gift from my wife and I. Check it out. It tells the story of Canadian heroes making a difference across the country. Have a wonderful evening. I'm sorry we went long. Bye-bye. You can clap now. Let's see here.
I let my phone ring.
There you go. Good job.